Right now we have 17 chains, and for example, if you want to build something tomorrow, and if you don't know Solidity, if you don't know Rust, maybe Java, PHP, or any of these programming languages, what we have built is an API engine on top of these nodes. So we are not just hosting the node; we are actually building an API engine on top of it, which enables non-blockchain developers also to develop on blockchain. For example, in today's date, you can build on any EVM using Seracle's APIs with PHP or with Java or like .NET and so on. So you don't have to learn the native Solidity or Rust for that. That's one of the main thing, and we don't even charge for it. Like we have free plans.
Hey everyone, wherever you are, hope you're having a wonderful week so far. We have the latest episode of the Inside Crypto Show, interviews and discussions with regular people just like yourselves. Today we are joined by Seracle CEO Shrikant Bhalerao. Seracle is an Oracle partner and a leading Web3 infrastructure company dedicated to providing decentralized node infrastructures for layer 1 and layer 2 chains within the Web3 ecosystem. Committed to empowering both startups and enterprises in the Web3 space, Seracle is focused on reducing node infrastructure costs for L1, L2 chains and cutting DevOps expenses by 90% for Web3 projects of startups and enterprises. That is a mouthful. It might be a overhead of some people, but don't worry, we'll explain it. We'll get into it. Shrikant is like the perfect person to explain this to us. But before that, as usual, we have to understand his background, where he's coming from, how he got to where he is today, and why he decided to start Seracle. Shrikant, thank you so much for making time. Tell us about yourself.
Thanks, Kiran. Thanks for the intro. So I actually come from an engineering background. I was initially working in fintech between 2011 to 2018. I was working predominantly in France, Denmark, and UK, where I was more into like payments, BFSI, and so on. And during that time, I like stumbled upon blockchain, specifically Bitcoin. And coin itself, I found it pretty interesting. My first purchase was like 50 euros worth of Bitcoin, which grew pretty fast, and that got me excited. And Seracle started as a consulting company in 2018, but in this year, 2023, in the first quarter, we launched our first product, which is more like a node infrastructure, which essentially solves the problem for layer 1, layer 2 blockchains as well as for the developer community by having community run nodes and giving access to RPC endpoints to the developers.
Right, very interesting. And when you were around Europe, why decide to, after that experience, why decide to set up Seracle? What was the motivation behind it?
So the motivation was when I was working in Europe. I mostly worked in startups which got acquired. Like I worked with Gemalto, which got acquired by Thales. Then I worked with Cellpoint, which kind of partly got acquired by Denmark Railways. Then I worked with Anatoine, which got acquired by Zalando. So it got me excited in the startup space, and I was looking for a niche problem, and that's where like I stumbled upon blockchain. And initially, I was more focused on blockchain itself and not really the crypto aspect of it, because as a technology, we were trying to do things like automated travel insurance claim and these kind of things as POCs on the side. And that's when I moved to Singapore initially in 2018. And Seracle was incorporated in Singapore in 2018. And we got a lot of small to mid size consulting projects. And that's how the company was set up. Now we are close to 60 plus people located across India, Canada, and in Thailand as well. So we are pretty global in that sense, and the entire motivation has been more of finding something that's new and in the fintech domain or somewhere related to finance.
And what's that transition been like from being like an engineer in the weeds of things and
Yeah.
then moving to being like a founder and a CEO and hiring people and managing people? And are you enjoying it? Is it difficult? Have there been any challenges?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, as an engineer, the biggest thing that we learn while becoming an entrepreneur or during the entrepreneur journey is that you don't have to just focus on building. You should focus on selling as well. Because most of the engineers, we think that once I build something super solid, it will automatically sell, but that's not true. You have to communicate it to the people. You have to convey that this exists, you have a solution, and so on. So that's where I think has been a bit of a challenge in terms of understanding that communication or marketing is also important and not just building a solid product.
That makes sense. And you echo something I heard on a podcast as well, which was like talking about Google Glass and how it was like a brilliantly engineered project. But at the end of the day, it was done and it was a great product, but nobody thought like, how do I sell this to people and
Yeah.
who are going to use it? And you just reminded me of that. Before we get into today's questions, I just want to remind everyone anything you say or I say is not financial or legal advice. It's your opinion, my opinion. It's not to be connected with 21Co or Seracle, right? We're having discussion about blockchain and crypto, right? We're not telling you to do anything or buy anything. Shrikant, we got to talk. You talked about Seracle, right? You talked about node infrastructure. You also mentioned a consumer product, but I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for our audience, right, what is node infrastructure and why is it so important for layer ones and layer twos?
So essentially, any blockchain, in a simple language, it's more like a database, right? That's the reason why we call it distributed ledger. And a database which is stored across the entire network means multiple servers. And all the servers are in sync, right? All the data is in sync. So those servers are nothing but nodes, and those nodes should be connected to each other. And that is what essentially establishes the decentralization. And that's why nodes are pretty important for L1 and L2. If the L1 or L2 platform or blockchain is managing all the nodes by themselves, then it's not really decentralized. This has to be run by the community, and that's what is happening with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the top L1, L2s. But that is not the case with a lot of upcoming mainnets, upcoming L1, L2s, and it's a challenge because one, we are moving towards proof of stake, and the mining rewards are essentially fading away for any new chains, and that's where like the nodes are pretty essential, and the community to run the nodes.
Okay. I've got a question with regards to that is I've seen projects like Filecoin and Flux and say, hey, if you want to run a node, you need to stake X amount of this
Yeah.
and you have to have certain hardware specifications. Is there an advantage with a blockchain saying, okay, we don't want the community to offer to run nodes. We're just going to go to Seracle and Seracle will do all of this for us. What's the difference between going to the community and saying, you offer up your own hardware as opposed to going to Seracle and saying, Seracle, please help us set up our nodes?
Right. So Seracle essentially has like three solutions. One is node infrastructure, and one is institutional DeFi. And within the node infrastructure, we have two things. One is community platform, which is OpenRPC, and then the enterprise platform, which we manage in partnership with Oracle. Essentially, talking about OpenRPC, which is where your question is about. On the OpenRPC side, what we have done is we have made it pretty simple for anyone to come in and become a tokenized node provider. We have partnered with the companies like Dweller from Sweden or Speron, which is a decentralized cloud platform, and recently with NodeOps, and also we have integration with QuickNode. So these are some of the very credible node providers. So we are at a stage where all these credible node providers who are already hosting blockchain nodes, they offload some of their cost by giving a tokenized node access through our OpenRPC platform. So let's say, for example, if you want to own a fraction of the node which is already being managed, say $100 worth of node, then you can go ahead and put $100, and that cost of $100, whatever consumption happens against it, whatever returns are generated against it, whether it is staking or whether it is based on the RPC consumption, you will be rewarded for that. That's the model we are moving towards as Open RPC. Think of us more like Uber, like Uber for node infrastructure, where on one side there are node providers, and on other side there are consumers, and we are more like a marketplace in a decentralized model.
Very cool. I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah,
That's awesome because I saw some of the requirements for setting up your own nodes for like Filecoin was like AMD Epic
yeah,
CPUs and 128 gigabytes of RAM, and this is like easily 5 to 10,000 US dollars worth of hardware, not to mention electricity costs
yeah.
depending on the country you live in. So that's awesome.
Exactly. And DeepIn, which is decentralized physical infrastructure, which is becoming very popular now. So IoTex and Speron are some of the top companies which are already operating with it. So that is the same concept we have implemented to build OpenRPC.
Very nice. So you mentioned Oracle as a partner, right? And I know, as usual, right before a podcast, I chat with our audience. I'm like, hey, we're talking to Shrikant from Seracle. What do you guys think? And one of the questions with anyone who says, I am partnered with X is like, how did you get Oracle to agree? Even though a lot of big companies are like, okay, We're not too sure about crypto and blockchain, but we'll give it a go, right? Did you have to convince Oracle to partner, or did Oracle be like, okay, as long as you're making money, we're happy? How did that work out?
Okay, so I'll tell you, blockchain is not new for Oracle. Oracle is already, if you go on Oracle Cloud Platform, you already see that Hyperledger, Quorum, and some of the private blockchains are already managed and provided by Oracle. What we are doing is we essentially like partnered with Oracle to move our existing OpenRPC system to OCI, which is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, where Oracle has given us credits, Oracle has given us discounts, and so on, which actually reduces our cost by almost 50%, just so you know. And that's where the partnership is pretty solid. And second is like Oracle sees the value in like getting new business, because technically Oracle is almost 10 years behind as a cloud platform when we compare it with AWS. And by enabling dedicated nodes, which Seracle will deploy on Oracle's marketplace, where in a couple of clicks you can, let's say, spin up Polygon, you can spin up Neo, and so on. And all these enterprise clients, they don't want their servers to be outside of their private cloud. And that's where Oracle comes in, and we actually are bringing more business to Oracle, where our institutional clients, our enterprise clients will prefer Oracle because there's the ability to spin up a node in a couple of clicks, and this is quite crucial,
Nice.
especially for enterprise.
Very good. And that makes sense as well. You mentioned Oracle is 10 years behind AWS. With Oracle's like experimentation with blockchain, do you think they're going to become the sort of premier blockchain infrastructure provider in the future?
I don't think it's going to be difficult for them, because unlike most of the other cloud companies, Oracle has been originally a tech company, right? Like Amazon, for example, wasn't really a tech provider company, but AWS is definitely killing it. But at the same time, Oracle has a lot of legacy clients, a lot of legacy systems. Just to give you a perspective, currently Oracle Cloud has 30 million customers, right? 30 million
Wow.
users. And these 30 million users will get exposure to blockchain when we enable all these nodes directly on the marketplace. And that is where I see that the existing clients, as well as Seracle being in the enterprise space since last close to 5 years now, we have so many clients who always ask us, can we not manage the node ourselves? Like, why do you have to deploy? Why are you managing the DevOps for us? And those enterprise clients essentially will love it. Like, they will be like, okay, I can just go to Oracle, which is already a credible brand, and in couple of clicks I can spin up a node, and I don't have to worry about all the DevOps. I don't have to worry about managing the node and so on, because automatically it will be managed. And that kind of opens up a lot of business for Oracle as well as for us.
Very nice. Let's zoom out a little bit, right? And you are in India right now. You're based in Saudi Arabia. You have Seracle employees, right, all over the world. So, in the last few years, since you heard about blockchain, you bought your first Bitcoin. How do you feel blockchain technology and crypto has changed from your personal perspective and the business perspective? Do you foresee greater adoption next year, or is it still going to be like a very slow curve towards more adoption? What's on your mind?
See, being a techie, I have seen one thing. Like, we have blockchain for us is more like a technology rather than the crypto or NFT aspect of it. And when I started in 2018 with blockchain, the institutional clients that we used to speak with, they used to say blockchain is a solution looking for a problem. But today there is actual real world applications. There is blockchain being used in ERP system, identity system, supply chain management, and so on. There are so many like real world applications of blockchain, because people are getting the sense of blockchain is about data ownership and data sovereignty and so on. And companies are gradually understanding the value in it. And their clients are also asking for it. So automatically the demand is being created. And when we speak to any enterprise client, unlike like crypto companies, they actually want a real use case and a real application of blockchain. And that is something which was not possible 4 5 years ago, also because the blockchain tech itself was not mature enough. But now it has matured to that level. We have so many new standards in Ethereum, even recently with BRC20 and so on, where we see blockchain is becoming more and more mainstream. It's not a secret anymore. It's not a cheat code anymore. It's more like a mainstream thing. And let's not forget, blockchain has been around now for more than 10 years. So it's not something that we can say is not mature. It's pretty much mature technology. And next year, adoption, I feel, If you say in terms of bull run and all, yes, there is an anticipated bull run. But at the same time, I think the space that we are in, being an enterprise focused company from the beginning, bull runs or bear markets don't affect us to that level.
Okay, very cool. Shrikant, you mentioned something at the beginning of the show. You mentioned how Saudi Arabia is really coming along in terms of regulation and perception about crypto and blockchain and technology. I think no one would disagree with that. If you look at the news, all popular outlets, they've talked about stories in Saudi Arabia. But you're originally from India as well. And I was speaking to the CEO of Huddle 01 before, and he's on the west coast of the US, but he's also originally from India.
Yeah.
And he was saying the Indian government is moving forward in terms of crypto regulation, despite what the media said. India has that crazy crypto tax. And I asked him a question: do you think India's going to be a hub for crypto in the future? And he was like, definitely yes. So I want to ask you the same question because I still haven't seen it, and maybe it's just because it's the end of the year. But do you think Indian crypto companies are still going to be born in India and thrive there, or will they have to be based in Singapore or Saudi Arabia or other places?
Okay, I think India is already pretty much like a home for some of the top blockchain companies, crypto companies. Like we speak about Polygon, Bikonomi, or Uniland. All these companies are essentially born out of India with Indian founders. Even Solana founder is originally Indian, right? The thing is, and talking about regulatory framework, it was implemented more than 1 year ago now, and it's pretty solid. Like now, there is a licensing framework similar to Europe. There is a FIU VASP license for crypto companies. There is a taxation of 30% capital gain tax, which I understand it sounds crazy, but you need to understand even if you get a capital gain on stocks or on real estate in India, it is 20%. So it's not that insane if you compare it with the other assets. And India treats crypto as a form of asset rather than currency, which has its own pros and cons. But at the same time, I feel Indian market is or Indian government has already created 80% of the legal framework which is required. Some of the gray areas are still there, which I believe in next couple of years they will definitely cover those as well. And I think India is one of the largest market with the number of developers and so on, the number of techies and all. So definitely India will thrive into the blockchain space or Web3 space. And we are already doing it with, I think the last number I know is close to a million developers are there in India, which are
Wow.
somewhere directly or indirectly related to Web3 developers as well as like entrepreneurs, everyone together. So India is a big market, and in terms of crypto holders, if we speak, India has I think close to 5 million crypto holders or something like that, which is pretty big.
Definitely. And just on this podcast alone, we've spoken to so many founders who are originally from India, and some are still in India as well. And you can definitely see the amount of effort and energy that's being put into developing on blockchain, using the technology to do really cool and interesting things. Shrikant, coming back to Seracle. So we're almost next month is the end of the year. Looking at 2024, what is your goal for Seracle? What do you want to do next year? Even what's been your goal for the last few years? Are you aiming to be the premier infrastructure provider? Are you aiming to, you mentioned a less enterprise product, but a new product? Are you going to do a mix of both? What's your thinking about that?
So I'll tell you, like, as an infra company, for us, we have two aspects, right? One is community infra, where we don't expect the clients to pay, and we want to run more like a Uber for node infrastructure, where our open RPC protocol comes in, and that's where we have developed it in this year. And this year, we also got solid partnerships like Shimaru, which is a big entertainment company, which launched a metaverse platform in partnership with Geo, which is one of the biggest telecom company in India, and that entire setup is actually built on Seracle's infrastructure. So even
Very nice.
they mentioned us on their like trailer credits and so on. So essentially, that is one of the biggest success for us in 2023. And then in Saudi Arabia, we have some very solid enterprise partnerships which are in pipeline, and we are anticipating them to close in the quarter one of next year. And next year, we are more focused on getting all the 17 plus blockchains which are part of our open RPC right now to enable on Oracle's cloud infrastructure as well. And then migrate some of our existing enterprise clients and target new enterprise clients to we enabled on Oracle's infrastructure as well to spin up the nodes directly within Oracle Cloud. So that's where our focus is, because the amount of development work that we need now to go live on Oracle, migrate, have the same setup on Oracle with plug and play node spin up architecture and everything. That's going to be where most of our energy will be going. And in backend, like we have now 17 chains, we will grow to many more. And near blockchain is one of our first partner whose nodes we are managing as well, along with few other things. And now we will have many more layer 1, layer 2. We are speaking to Cosmos Hub. We are speaking with a few other chains as well. The coming year is more about L1 and L2s, I believe. There's so many L1 and L2s which are popping right and left. And we see that all these young chains definitely need a solution to be truly decentralized.
Okay. And I totally agree with you. Definitely a solution to be truly decentralized is important, and you can see that in like community discords and things like that. Shrikant, you hinted at this sort of like non-enterprise offering at the start of today's podcast, right? So I
Yeah.
was wondering if you could talk to us more about that, like how does that work? Because and then one of the questions our audience got was like, okay, this Seracle is a strictly enterprise, and there's no way for regular blockchain fans or technology people to get involved with Seracle.
Okay, so that's not true. That has been our journey till 2022. But to give you a few numbers, so we have close to 1 million plus users who have been using our APIs and like who have been provisioned through our APIs. And we have 800 plus startups and developers who are using our OpenRPC system. So essentially, we have 800 plus projects or say startups or developers, and then close to 1 million end users who are part of our OpenRPC, which is the community platform. And the OpenRPC is where right now we have 17 chains. And for example, if you want to build something tomorrow, and if you don't know Solidity, if you don't know Rust, maybe Java, PHP, or any of these programming languages, what we have built is an API engine on top of these nodes. So we are not just hosting the node, we are actually building an API engine on top of it, which enables non-blockchain developers also to develop on blockchain. For example, you in today's date you can build on any EVM using Seracle's APIs with PHP or with Java or like .NET and so on. So you don't have to learn the native Solidity or Rust for that. That's one of the main thing, and we don't even charge for it. Like we have free plans. If you
Wow.
are just in the development stage and all, you can freely use the APIs. You can freely use the RPC. And then, based if you are really moving towards a professional setup where you need more access or more API calls and all, that's when where the plans start from as low as $19 a month. So for us, essentially, the revenue model is more focused towards, let's say, having some business with the L1, L2s and not really charge the developers or the projects which are building on it. And then the people who want to take benefit of the entire infrastructure by having some tokenized ownership of it. And that's where we are like we just got approval from Stripe and all, because we don't want to be like creating a blocker for regular web 2 users to not have the ownership of the tokenized infra. So we will be enabling card based payments and all as well for everything, where users will be able to have tokenized infra ownership and also earn from it, as well as they can subscribe to the developer plans, which is like $19 and $49 max if you're building a project on a monthly basis. And all this will be available with crypto as well as with credit card payments.
$19 a month is really affordable, and even $49 is still pretty decent for what you're offering. Shrikant, for one question I wanted to ask that was on the script that I haven't asked yet is like, for the service you're providing, someone looking at other competitors in your space or other companies, like what do you say is the one big differentiator between Seracle and other companies doing the same thing?
Okay, so I'll tell you most of the other companies, like if we talk about like QuickNode, Alchemy, or Dweller, and also if they are managing their own nodes as an open RPC protocol, they become a provider for us. So they're not really a competitor for us. And then if we speak about, there's only one player in the market like Anchor, which is quite close to what we are doing. However, Anchor does not have a tokenized node infrastructure. Anchor manages the nodes by themselves or has various investment or partner that essentially manage the node for that. So our model essentially you can say a step further than what Anchor is doing. Anchor has partnered with Microsoft Azure. We have partnered with Oracle. Anchor has managed nodes, whereas we have tokenized nodes and managed by credible partners instead of us managing the entire node ourselves. So that kind of makes us light, and this is what we learn from businesses like Airbnb, Uber, and all, where you should not have heavy assets under your belt. It just adds to the cost. Instead of create a marketplace model where nodes can be provided by credible players, and then the tokenization of those nodes can be borne by the community, and also on top of it by the consumption of nodes. So that's the model that we are completely focused on with the Open RPC.
That makes a lot of sense. Shrikant, second to last question is, for the people who are watching the video or listening to the audio on Apple Podcast or Spotify, what do you want them to do, right? Do you want them to visit your Telegram or Discord or whatever it is? Do you want them to contact Seracle? What's the ideal outcome?
So they can go ahead and sign up on the platform. That is one. You can sign up with your email address, or you can sign up with MetaMask as well. And of course, we would love to have more people as part of our Telegram group. We would love to have more people on our Twitter, on our LinkedIn, and so on. And feel free to reach out to us directly on LinkedIn. I'm available. You can just ping me there, or on our website also. There's a contact us section as well. So you can reach out to us there as well if you have any queries, or if you have some specific requirement that you want to discuss.
That sounds perfect. Shrikant, this has been a very interesting discussion. Seracle is so much more varied than what I expected. And that's why I love doing these interviews and podcasts, because you can read stuff on a website, you can listen to documentation, you can watch other videos, but it's always good talking to someone in person and asking like these really interesting questions. Before we end up today's show, I always like to give founders and CEOs a chance to say anything they want to say. It could be pearls of wisdom, anything about Seracle that we didn't discuss that you want to talk about, anything that you'd like to plug. It's your choice. You can say anything you want. The floor is yours.
Yeah, one of the important thing we want to mention here is that Seracle is a player which has seen two bull runs, two bear markets, and so on. So we are here to stay. We have been in the space close to 5 years now, where we have dealt with, I think, more than 1,000 startups and projects and so on, and with so many users. For us, to be honest, it's always exciting with whatever changing dynamics are happening in the market. We have seen the NFT craze, we have seen like the ICO craze, the IDO craze, and so on. Like anything you want to build, right? If you want to build a metaverse platform, if you want to build a DeFi app, you want to build an enterprise application around carbon traceability or supply chain management or remittance, anything, you can build it using Seracle's infrastructure. You don't have to go ahead and set up your own node or learn the basic programming for Solidity and Rust. You don't have to do all that. You can simply have the Web3 aspect in your existing Web2 application as well by connecting with our APIs, which is readily available on our website under the developer section.
Very cool. And I think that's very useful. Good to end off on. Shrikant, it's been awesome. So I will put all of Seracle's social links, as you mentioned, LinkedIn, Twitter are down. So please do follow them. They are very interesting and putting a lot of effort. And like Shrikant said, it's very rare to find a crypto company, a blockchain company who's been through two bull markets, two bear markets. That shows staying power right there. Shrikant, I know you're on LinkedIn as well. Are you on any other social media you'd like people to follow you on?
I think Twitter and LinkedIn, these are the two best channels to connect on.
Okay, cool. So I will include that as well. And Shrikant, thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward to publishing this next week. So if you're listening to this, it's out. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel and the TikTok channel for shorts. And hopefully we can chat to Shrikant at some point in the future again to catch up next year, see how Seracle is doing. And yep, that will be it. Shrikant, thank you again.
Thanks, Trent. It was wonderful speaking with you.